Hello, my name is Brother Sean, and I am one of the mighty companions who's drawn the short straw today to talk to you about the vision given to our hearts. The vision has two components. The first part of the vision was shared back in July 2006 to 12 of my students that I was training to work with diaphragmatic energy, embracing the Christ Magdalena energy underpinned by the ancient Essenes. During that training weekend, Lord Gatumi, St. Francis, spoke with the 12, and the message was very clear. It was direct and it was simple. And the message was to reach out as a group and restore God's wounded children. And we all began to reflect in our heart, what was this saying? And in the group discussion it became apparent that of the 12 taking the course with Sister Teresa and myself, each of us had a personal story to share from love. A story about how we experienced the rough end of God's justice, not from God, but from His representatives within our faith communities. And what was so disheartening was that of the 12, only one was still a committed Christian. So it became apparent that the vision wasn't to go out and support the spiritually well within the interreligious faith communities, but to seek out the broken, the discouraged, the disheartened, and offer them a spiritual watering hole where they could come, where they could receive unconditional love, where they would be welcomed, where they will be accepted for who they are, not for what they could do. Lifestyles, sexual orientation, disability, even ageism, was not to be a part of that vision. In other words, we were to set up a framework that would provide hands-on, practical support from loving hearts. And though we are essentially a Christian-based foundation, we subscribe to Jesus the Barefoot Galilean. Many of us have difficulty subscribing to the Christian Church's interpretation of God and their portrayal of Jesus. They say He was a God of love, but in their pronouncements, in their dogma, Jesus isn't seen as a God of love when decisions are made which alienate, ostracize ordinary men and women who have issues, conflicts, where their heart is confused, where they sense no welcome. So we set up the Teo community of St. Francis, and here in our small monastery, the Celtic Assisi of the South Lakes, we began welcoming brothers and sisters of different faiths, different colours, different sexualities, and we just shared with them Franciscan hospitality without an agenda. We made it a golden rule not to talk about God, nor to preach God, nor defend why we do what we do. The vision is simple. It's to restore by meeting all faiths and none with love. Because God is love, and where there is love, there is God. The second part of the vision was to reach out to those who are already on a spiritual path and offer them solidarity from a loving family, a spiritual family, who come from different faith beliefs, who come recognizing that they have a hunger within their being. There is a thirst, an insatiable thirst, to know God more. And rather than lose out and drift, as I did for 40 years, because I kept hearing in my heart, come home, and in my head I was processing that message, and I thought it meant come home back to the Catholic monastery. And I knew from my experience as a Catholic nursing monk, after 8 years of living that life, I left the Catholic Church. I could take no more, because I never felt valued. In fact, I was devalued. And I felt that my heart was broken by the inhumanity, the unchristian intolerance and abuse of God's love. But I forgive my religious family because I love my family, and I am thankful to God for the many wonderful experiences I've had and the wisdom. But now that I've grown up and matured, my heart is wanting to embrace not academia or dogma or hierarchy, but to embrace my heart and to find God through the natural world, the cathedral of life. So the vision given to my heart by Francis and Jesus, as I knelt at his tomb in Assisi in April 2008, was to establish a lay monastic community, a monastery without walls, where individuals who are wanting to live a spiritual life from their own home, honouring their own faith tradition, whether they're Buddhist, Christian, Jew, Muslim, Baha'i, Sikh, Hindu, atheist, agnostic, Wiccan, pagan, irrelevant. The vision is to invite them to come as part of a spiritual interfaith community and share their love, share their gifts, their wisdom. And we know the Abbey of St. Francis of Peace and Compassion for all faiths, and for members within that fraternity who wish to live together in an eco-pod, but coming together each day 3 times to praise and celebrate their love of their God, is already in existence in the etheric realm. And though we get impatient and we want it now, it will come in God's time. But for now the emphasis is to reach out as the mighty companions, though we are Christian in our heart, but we are also embracing interfaith. And because we don't subscribe to religion and dogma and hierarchy, that does not say that we have abandoned God. If the truth be told, we have found a simpler way to embracing God, and that is by meeting with all beliefs and together sitting at table and breaking bread. And those of you who feel inspired to stay within your religious family and honour your rule of life, whatever that rule is, but still would like to become an oblate or a lay monastic like me, and live that simple life to your own rule, you are welcome. You do not have to be married or single, widowed or divorced. You do not have to be celibate. All you need is an open heart to come and share in God's vision and bring it out into the community to meet ordinary people who are hurting, who are broken, who are hungry for God's food. We are a new people set apart, called by God. Join us.